Have you ever had a man share a fantasy with you that made you stop and think, what is it about that excites him so much? One of the most common, and for many women, one of the most surprising, is the fantasy of finishing on you. Now, before you roll your eyes or think this is just some random guy thing, hear me out, because the truth is there's a lot more psychology behind this than you might realize. See, here's what I've learned when it comes to intimacy. Men don't usually talk about the deeper why behind what they like. They'll share the surface level fantasy, but they don't always know how to express the emotions that drive it. And yes, this specific fantasy often sounds purely physical, but underneath, it carries layers of meaning tied to desire, trust, vulnerability, and connection. And here's the fun part. It's not just about sex. It's about what that act represents in the mind of a man, because behind closed doors, our most private desires often reveal what we crave most in love and intimacy. And when you understand the deeper why behind his fantasy, you gain a powerful insight into what makes him feel bonded, what makes him feel alive, and even what makes him feel closer to you. So today, I'm going to break this down for you into 5 surprising reasons why men secretly fantasize about this. And by the end, not only will you see this in a new light, but you'll also know how to use this insight to spark deeper attraction, emotional intimacy, and yes, a lot more passion in your relationship. When a man fantasizes about finishing on you, one of the biggest reasons is because in his mind, it represents the ultimate expression of desire. Let me explain what I mean by that, because at first it might sound shallow or purely physical. But when you look deeper into the psychology of attraction, you'll see that for many men, this isn't just an action, it's a statement. It's his body's way of saying, I want you so much, I can't contain it. I can't hold it in. I need you to see, feel, and know the depth of my desire. For him, it's a visual, undeniable mark of passion. And whether you realize it or not, a lot of male arousal is tied to this idea of showing his attraction in a way that you can't mistake. Think about it, men are constantly looking for ways to prove their desire. Some will buy you gifts, some will shower you with words, some will do acts of service. But in the heat of intimacy, this becomes a physical symbol. It's the rawest, most primal way of saying, I'm consumed by you. And here's the key. When he fantasizes about this with you specifically, it's not about objectifying you. It's about elevating you to the level of the woman who brings out his deepest passion. You're not just another partner. You're the one who pulls this unfiltered, unstoppable side of him out. Men often struggle to put these emotions into words. They're not sitting there thinking, oh, this is a symbolic gesture of how much I value her. That's not how the male brain works. What happens instead is that in the moment, he feels an overwhelming surge of attraction that he wants to externalize. And this fantasy gives him that outlet. It gives him a way to make his passion visible. It's not something hidden inside him. It's something you can literally see that's powerful for him. Because men crave evidence that their desire is being communicated clearly. It's almost like his way of saying, do you get how much I want you now? And from your perspective, it can be flattering if you view it through this lens. Because whether he realizes it or not, what he's really saying is, you bring me to a point where I lose control. That's a huge compliment in a world where men often pride themselves on composure, on being in control, on never letting their emotions spill over. You're the exception. You're the woman who makes him forget all of that. You're the one who draws out the unpolished, uncensored version of him. And if you think about it, that's actually one of the biggest signs of intimacy, that someone can't contain themselves around you. Now, of course, not every woman will see it that way, and that's okay. Some may find it off-putting, and that's perfectly valid. But the point here isn't whether you should enjoy it or not. It's about understanding the psychology behind why he does. Because when you see that, you stop taking it personally and you start recognizing it as an emotional signal. It's not about disrespect. It's about passion. It's not about using you. It's about proving how much you affect him. And when you can decode that, you get an insight into how men express love and attraction differently than women do. So the next time you hear a man mention this fantasy, remember, what he's really fantasizing about is not just the act itself, but the feeling of overwhelming desire that he wants to share with you. He wants you to know you're the one who breaks through his walls, the one who makes him lose his carefully held control, the one he can't help but crave. And in his world, that is the ultimate expression of desire. When a man fantasizes about finishing on you, another powerful reason behind it is that it taps into this really interesting combination of dominance and surrender. And it might sound strange that those two things could exist at the same time, but that's actually what makes this fantasy so compelling for a lot of men. On one hand, there's the primal feeling of dominance. In his mind, this fantasy symbolizes control, raw power, the idea that he's taking charge in the moment. It appeals to that instinctive part of him that wants to feel masculine, that wants to feel like he's leading the experience. It's his way of saying, I'm the one who is steering the energy here. And let's be honest, for many men, part of their sexual drive is tied to feeling like the masculine presence who's igniting passion in his partner. But here's the twist: as much as it represents dominance, it's also an act of surrender, because think about what's really happening in that moment. He's giving you something deeply vulnerable. That final release is the moment when he can't hide anything anymore. He's exposed. He's letting you see him at his most unguarded. So while he might feel a surge of power in the act, he's also simultaneously saying, here I am, with no walls, no masks, no control left. And that's why this fantasy is layered. It's not just about being the one in control. It's about being the one who has lost control with you. This contradiction is incredibly exciting for men, even if they don't consciously think about it this way. Most men walk through the world trying to maintain control in their careers, in their emotions, in their image. They want to appear composed, collected, strong. But intimacy is the one place where they can let all of that go. And in this fantasy, they get to experience both sides at once. They feel like the powerful, dominant man, while at the same time, they're revealing a side of themselves that is completely vulnerable. For a woman, understanding this can be eye-opening, because sometimes we hear dominance and we think it's just about ego or just about him wanting to use power. But in reality, what he's often craving is a safe space where he can embody both roles: the strong, commanding version of himself and the open, surrendered version of himself. And if he's fantasizing about this with you, it usually means he trusts you enough to show both sides. You're the person with whom he feels safe enough to let go of his armor, while still feeling masculine in the process. It's also worth mentioning that this blend of dominance and surrender creates intensity. It's not lukewarm. It's not just going through the motions. It's passion turned up to the highest level. And when couples share those kinds of experiences, it creates a bond. You walk away not just remembering what happened physically, but remembering the energy exchange. You remember how deeply you connected in a way that felt unfiltered, real, and raw. So when you hear that men secretly fantasize about this, it's not just about some random act. It's about the emotional cocktail it stirs inside them. It lets them feel strong, powerful, masculine, while simultaneously allowing them to be weak, exposed, and surrendered in your presence. And that's rare for a man. That's not something he gives to just anyone. It's something he only shares with a woman he feels a unique chemistry and safety with. And that's why this fantasy has so much pull. Because it's not just dominance and it's not just surrender. It's the delicate balance of both. It's him showing you that he can be the man who takes charge, but also the man who loses himself completely in you. And when you understand that, you see it for what it really is: a moment of intimacy wrapped in intensity. When a man has this fantasy, a lot of women assume it's just about physical pleasure. But what's often overlooked is that for many men, it's actually about a deep psychological connection. At first glance, that might sound counterintuitive. You're probably thinking, wait, how could something that looks so physical and maybe even shocking actually be about closeness? But that's exactly what it is. For a man to share this part of himself, to even want this with you, requires a level of trust that goes way beyond the surface. See, here's what happens: men don't open up easily. They're taught from a young age to be strong, to keep their feelings under control, to never reveal too much vulnerability. And yet, in intimacy, those rules don't apply. When he shares a fantasy like this, or even just lets it play out in his mind with you, what he's really saying is, I trust you enough to let you see me completely. I trust you not to judge me for my rawest desires. That's huge, because in a man's world, there are very few places where he feels safe enough to drop the mask. Think about it: if he didn't feel connected to you, if he didn't feel safe, this fantasy would probably stay tucked away, hidden in the corners of his imagination. But when he brings it into your dynamic, whether by suggesting it, hinting at it, or just thinking about it when he's with you, it means you've created a space where he feels he can be unapologetically himself. That's not about the act itself. That's about the bond between you. And this is why some women miss the bigger picture. They think, oh, he just wants this because he's being selfish, when in reality, it's often the opposite. He wants this because he feels close to you. He feels that you're the one person who won't laugh, who won't shame, who won't push him away for being open about what he craves. And ladies, let me tell you, when a man feels that kind of acceptance, it's addictive. He'll keep coming back to you, not just because of the physical chemistry, but because of the emotional freedom you give him. This fantasy, in that sense, becomes symbolic. It's less about what's happening physically and more about what it communicates. I can show her all of me, and she still wants me. That is a powerful affirmation for a man, because deep down, every man, no matter how confident he looks on the outside, wonders if he's truly desired, if he's truly enough. When he feels he can let go with you, when he feels he can share the sides of himself he hides from the world, you become more than a lover. You become the person he feels bonded to in a way that's rare. And here's the part that makes this so important for relationships. When a man feels psychologically connected to you, his attraction doesn't just stay in the bedroom. It spills over into the rest of the relationship. He treats you differently. He invests more. He prioritizes you because in his mind, you're not just the woman who excites him. You're the woman who understands him, who sees him, who accepts him in ways others don't. And that's where real intimacy begins. So yes, on the surface, this fantasy might look like something purely physical, maybe even messy, but at its core, it's a reflection of trust, vulnerability, and connection. It's a sign that he feels safe enough to let you into a side of him he doesn't share with anyone else. And when you can see it from that perspective, you realize it's not just a fantasy, it's a bridge into the deepest parts of his psychology. One of the biggest reasons this particular fantasy is so powerful for men is because it's visual. And if you've ever wondered why men are sometimes drawn to things that seem very specific or even unusual, it often comes back to this. Men are wired to be highly visual when it comes to arousal. For women, desire can be sparked by words, by energy, by the emotional vibe in the room. For men, while those things absolutely matter, the visual element is incredibly strong. They want to see passion. They want to witness the effect of desire in a way that feels undeniable. This is why things like lingerie, certain positions, or even the way you look at him can drive him crazy. It's not just about the act itself. It's about the visual confirmation of his attraction. And in the case of finishing on you, what excites him is that he can literally see the outcome of his desire for you. In his mind, it's not hidden, it's not tucked away. It's right there, undeniable, physical proof of how much you turn him on. That's powerful for him because men love evidence. They don't just want to feel desire, they want to see it unfold. Now, this isn't about objectifying you. It's not about reducing you to some surface level image. Instead, what's really happening is that he's getting a heightened sense of arousal by being able to see his passion for you come to life. Imagine it like this for him. It's like taking the invisible feeling of desire and making it visible. And that creates an intensity that goes beyond the ordinary. What's interesting is that many men don't even realize this consciously. They're not thinking, oh, I'm aroused because this gives me visual evidence of my attraction. It's much more instinctual than that. It just hits them in a way that feels raw and exciting. But when you understand this about men, it helps you see the deeper psychology at play. They are incredibly stimulated by what they see. And this fantasy gives them the ultimate visual rush. And for you, if you're open to it, this can actually be empowering rather than demeaning. Because what he's really showing you is, you have such an effect on me that I need to show it. I need to see it. I need to leave no doubt about it. In other words, you're the muse. You're the focus of his passion. You're not a passive participant. You're the source of his excitement. And the proof of that is right in front of both of you. That can actually be a very affirming feeling if you allow yourself to look at it from that angle. It also speaks to the way men process intimacy differently. For a lot of women, intimacy is about closeness, words, emotional exchange, and touch. For men, while those things matter deeply, there's often this added layer of wanting to see the physical intensity of the moment. It's not enough for him to feel it inside. He wants to watch it unfold outside of himself. That's why this fantasy keeps popping up. It's the clearest, most visual representation of how much you ignite him. So the next time you hear about this fantasy, instead of thinking, oh, this is just some random guy thing. Try to see the deeper meaning. He's not just chasing a thrill, he's chasing the visual confirmation that his passion for you is real, undeniable, and right there in front of him. And when you think of it like that, you realize it's not just about lust. It's about making his desire visible, about letting his attraction spill over into something you can both see, and about turning his inner passion into something that becomes a shared experience. One of the most powerful reasons men fantasize about finishing on you is because it taps into the idea of breaking a taboo together. And that might sound simple on the surface, but the psychology of it is fascinating. Human beings are naturally drawn to things that feel a little forbidden, a little outside of the ordinary. When something feels off limits, it often becomes 10 times more exciting. And for men, this particular fantasy has that edge. It feels bold. It feels daring. It feels like stepping into a space that not everyone is willing to go to. Now, here's the important part. It's not just about him doing something taboo to you. It's about you sharing in that taboo with him. That's what makes it powerful, because when a couple does something that feels a little naughty, a little secret, it creates this unspoken bond. It's like you're both in on something together, and that us against the world energy makes your connection stronger. Think about it. When you and your partner share an inside joke that no one else gets, it makes you feel closer, right? This works the same way, but on an intimate level. It becomes a private adventure that only the two of you have experienced. And here's why this matters. Most relationships over time fall into routines. The spark can fade if everything feels predictable. But when you explore something that feels taboo together, even if it's just once, it jolts the relationship with new energy. It shakes up the routine. It reminds both of you that intimacy isn't just about going through the motions. It's about discovery, about playfulness, about pushing boundaries in a way that deepens trust and attraction. For men, this fantasy represents exactly that. It's not only the physical act, it's the thrill of doing something that society doesn't always openly talk about, something that feels like it belongs to just the two of you. And when you're willing to explore it, you send him a powerful message. I'm open, I trust you, and I'm willing to step into this private world with you. That makes him feel closer to you, because he knows you're not just the woman he can hold hands with in public. You're also the woman he can share his wildest, most secret desires with in private. And here's the fascinating part. When couples break taboos together, it often creates a ripple effect. Suddenly, the relationship feels freer, more authentic. You both realize we can be ourselves here. We don't have to hide. That kind of freedom is rare. And once it's there, it spills into every part of the relationship. Conversations become more open. Vulnerabilities come out more easily. The trust deepens, because if you can handle each other's taboo sides, you can handle anything. Of course, it's important to remember that not every woman will want to explore this, and that's perfectly fine. But even just understanding why it appeals to men can help you see it differently. It's not about disrespect. It's not about reducing you. It's about bonding over something that feels private and a little daring. It's about creating a shared secret that makes your connection feel stronger. So when a man has this fantasy, what he's really imagining isn't just the physical act. It's the intimacy that comes from breaking a rule with you, from exploring something that feels forbidden, and from creating a moment that belongs only to the two of you. And that, at its core, is what keeps relationships passionate, alive, and deeply connected. So when you really look at it, this fantasy isn't just about sex. It's not just some random thing men think about because they've seen it somewhere or because they're bored. It's actually layered with meaning. For many men, it's about the ultimate expression of desire, this primal way of saying, I want you so much, I can't hold it back. It's about the balance of dominance and surrender, where he feels both powerful and vulnerable in the same moment. It's about trust and the deep psychological connection that comes when he knows he can show you his raw side without fear of judgment. It's about the visual, the undeniable, tangible proof of his attraction for you. And finally, it's about breaking taboos together, stepping into that playful, rebellious space where intimacy becomes a private adventure only the two of you share. When you see it this way, you realize this isn't about objectification or disrespect. It's about intimacy, connection, vulnerability, and passion. And that's the lens I want you to start using when you think about men's desires. Because when you can decode the psychology behind them, you stop feeling confused by their actions and start understanding what they really mean. Now, here's my challenge for you. The next time a man expresses a fantasy, or even just hints at one, instead of immediately shutting down or brushing it off, pause and ask yourself, what does this say about how he feels toward me? What's the deeper need behind this? Because when you learn to see beyond the surface, you step into a level of emotional intelligence that most people never reach in relationships. And that's the space where real intimacy is built. That's where passion doesn't just survive, but grows. That's where a man doesn't just desire you. He adores you, respects you, and feels bonded to you in a way he can't explain but can never walk away from. So, ladies, now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had a man share this fantasy with you? Did it make you feel uncomfortable, curious, or maybe even flattered? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I rate every single one. And if you found this video helpful, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with another woman who deserves to understand the truth about how men think. Because intimacy isn't about the act itself, it's about the meaning behind it. And once you see that, you'll never look at male desire the same way again.